I'm Starr Edwards.
I'm Evelyn Matson.
And I'm Kieffer.
And this is our presentation on Briar East Woods.
So the purpose of this podcast is to discuss the overpass that will cut through the wooded area linking 173rd Street and 169th Street between Parish Avenue and Grand Avenue. It will include 2 lanes of traffic and for pedestrians and cyclists as well.
And so for our research question, we want to discuss how this demonstrates the effect of public opinion on policies and government decisions. And our call to action is to bring more awareness to the issue of destroying the forest to build an overpass.
So you can see we've got our 3 bullet points to discuss the main points of the controversy surrounding the woods. So our mayor, the mayor of Hammond, Thomas McDermott, is putting the forest at risk because he believes that the train traffic, and as well he's brought up the children crossing 169th Street to get to their schools, they're being put at risk, quite frankly, because some of them have to climb over the stopped trains on the tracks. Some of them have to cross extremely busy roads. Kids have been hit on those roads. And the overpass is a proposed way to mitigate those issues. However, mitigating those issues would lead to huge swaths of the forest being cut down, leaving many, many species without their homes. It can introduce flooding to this area. It will also introduce even more noise pollution than there already is because the trees help break that up. It can increase winds. It has a myriad of effects. So for the history of Briar East Woods, Briar East Woods is located at the center of the Hammond-Hessville area. It's actually right behind us right now. And it also contains the highest natural point in all of Hammond. These pictures were taken in Briar East Woods. Mount Hessville is what they call the highest point. It's really not a mountain, it's like a small hill. But you can see we've got the green grass peeking through after winter. We've got, some of these trees are over 1,000 years old. They're very important to Hammond history and the natural ecosystem that we've got going on. And it's really important that this stays intact because taking it out is going to cause infinitely more damage than the stopped trains and the dangerous crossings. You want to talk about this?
Yes, and then so this image is demonstrating their plan for the overpass, and as you can see, like here, this whole area is like Briar Eastwood, and they just want to go right through it. Wait, where's Morton? Morton?
Yes, Morton is right on where you see the 10 at the corner.
Oh, here's Morton?
Yes, about right there.
Okay. So it's gonna go right over the tracks here, so.
You can see it's not even really mitigating the risk of crossing at Kennedy and 169th. It's not even really mitigating the risk of the train tracks further down. The most compelling argument I've seen to build the overpass is for quicker first responder time. But even so, when I interviewed Ken Rosek, one of the heads of the Briar Eastwood protest group, he brought up the fact that while that overpass is being built, the quickest route to get to the other side of the train tracks is going to be blocked. So it's going to do more harm than good.
And there was another, there was a quote from a student that said that it didn't actually speed up the process. It just it's just about the same. And the quote is, once students get across the tracks using the overpass, they would still have to walk another 20 minutes to Morton and 25 minutes to get to Scott, which is showing it's not that much shorter,
It's just a different route. It's not really providing a service that is leagues better than what we have already. And combined with that, all of the houses that are next to it are going to be experiencing that construction period where, there's debris everywhere, it's super loud, all that kind of stuff. It just seems to me like it's not really the most efficient solution.
So,
Okay.
so this is what the mayor has to say. He unfortunately did not answer us back, which these clips kind of will state why. So here we go.
Right now I'm dealing with one. It's in my opinion, it's irrational, and it's irrationality coming from the public. And I don't want to be a jerk about it, because the cause that they believe in this case, and I don't want to rehash it in detail, but it's an environmental issue. And I acknowledge that this plan I'm doing is going to have an impact on about 300 trees, and that sucks, okay? But what I'm doing, the benefits of what I'm doing outweigh those 300 trees, and I could replant those trees.
I was gonna say, why don't we just go out and replant
I've
this
already
weekend?
agreed to that, okay? But
Let's plant 5 times as much. Or 10 times
I would do that, just to shut them up,
Yeah.
but they won't. They want me to kill this deal, and it's a 100% fully funded bridge. It's being paid for by the feds and the state. To fix a problem in Hammond. Stop trains.
If you don't mind me asking.
Stop trains.
Beautiful.
It's like a big deal.
Or what's the?
It's in Hessville, so I don't know how familiar you are with Hessville. It's a new bridge right by Morton High School. That'll get us over the stop trains that are every single day stopped in Hessville.
Yeah.
Which impacts, police response,
So
impacts
where's
fire
that
response. And they want me to turn it down. They don't like it because it goes through this forested part, and they want me to go a different direction, and we can't.
Right.
It's a urban
And now
area.
you're gonna miss out on that.
No, we're not. See,
Building
like,
up
that's what they
Hammond.
want.
Yeah.
They want me to say, no, sorry, there's trees here, but I'm like, sorry guys, I can't do that.
Just do it.
I'm building this
Yeah,
bridge.
Okay, so the first thing I want to bring up with this, this rebuttal that he has against, the evidence he's using to support his project here is the fact that he said he's going to replant the trees he cuts down. The issue isn't that he's cutting down the trees. The issue is that he's destroying history. That forest is 4,000 years old. The dunes underneath it are 4,000 years old. You cannot replant that. Once it's gone forever. So, but, you can't just give somebody something new and be like, isn't this exactly the same? That thing I destroyed that you really loved, here's a new one that's not as good, but
Also,
that's fine. Go ahead.
okay, second comment, him telling us to shut our faces up when we ourselves, not specifically me, but Hammond residents are speaking out about this. You are the mayor of Hammond residents. Don't tell your residents to shut their faces up because it's just rude and unkind. Unprofessional. Especially doing like a podcast on it. First off, it's just rude.
Anyways,
Another thing I think is important to know is he's telling the people who put him in office to shut their faces up when he is supposed to do things on their behalf. And he's saying he's gonna do 5 times the trees that he cuts down, but it's not gonna be able to be a wooded area because there's not a spot in Hammond where he can plant all those trees that he's saying he's gonna plant.
Hammond is already
So
bafflingly industrialized. Briar East Woods is one of like the last large pieces of land that could be classified as a forest.
And it's 4,000 years old, so. Alright, well, let's move on to the second clip.
So basically, it's an update on, and we've been talking on this show about Briar East Woods and
The guy
the
in the
bridge
blue
that the
shirt
city's
is
building that I
Mayor
support,
Thomas
that residents support. They're not 100% of my residents support. I think it's a 2/3, 1/3 issue, where 2/3 of my city supports the actions that the city council and I are taking, and working with the state and federal government to try to alleviate train stoppages in Hessville. Okay, improve response times for our public safety, things like that. Unfortunately, part of our plan is going to result in chopping down probably 300 trees or so, and that sucks. And we've vowed to replant 2 for everyone. We've talked about this on the show. I was concerned for a while about how the environmental group felt about it. I was trying to work with them for a while, and then at a certain point, after about 6 or 7 years of working on this, I said, forget it. I'm doing the project. I got reelected. The councilman that supports me in this got reelected. We're moving forward with this project. And then about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I made my final public statement on it. I was literally like telling the Post Tribune, telling the Times, I'm not talking about this anymore. You guys want to keep talking about it, but I don't, right? Just because you want to talk about it doesn't mean I do. I've been talking about this for 8 years. I'm done.
That's part of it, right? Is that this is the kind of the uprising over this, if you want to call it that, is not as long as the time you put into planning and with the state and
with the public.
designers and with the public. And right, I mean, believe it or not, before all this even came about as this quote unquote protest, you had taken a survey of the residents.
Yes.
You had talked to the residents.
We're in year 8. They're in year probably 2. So 5 or 6 years after we're starting in public with the project, they just decided to jump in and derail it. 5 or 6.
I want to say something. All right. So one talking point he brought up was that like a vast majority of the residents voted pro Briar East Woods. However, according to the Chicago Tribune, there was bias implemented in the way that they took this information, because the way that they did the survey was that they put it on the mayor's website, so it wasn't like it was given out to every single resident. It was just like whoever wanted to.
It was really only people who were interested in the mayor because they
Yeah.
went to his website,
Yeah.
who saw that survey being posted and then took the survey.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I also wanted to bring up the fact that when he says that the protesters have only just recently started doing that, that's just incorrect. These people have been at it for over 5 years. Organizing many events, picking up trash in the woods, all sorts of different stuff. And to leave that out is, I would say, kind of telling of, his stance on this situation.
Even with the interview with Kevin, he stated that they've been doing this for about 7 years, correct? And that it's only 1 more year shorter. There's only 1 more year shorter than the project that he's been proposing, and people need their voices heard, and he's not recognizing it.
So here we've got our first interview from one of our Hammond residents. Her name is Celeste Boles. Very lovely lady. Here's her interview.
All right. So what's your name? My name is Celeste Boles, and I have been living in Hammond for almost 7 years. Okay. No, wait. I can't even do that part. 8 years.
Wait. And what does Briar East Woods mean to you?
It's one of the. It's the only place left in Hammond where we can walk under a woodland canopy. I really love that. There, and so I do like to go there with the dog and walk. I think, okay, that's not true. It's not the only place in Hammond that we can walk under the woodland canopy, but Gibson Woods is only open certain hours, and it's a nature preserve, so you can't bring a dog. So Briar East Woods is open to more uses by more people at more hours, and it's a great place to just be in nature and like breathe the trees, you know what I mean? But, and it's also just a really important ecological resource in terms of noise mitigation, Green Avenue, flood mitigation, or like that whole neighborhood right next to it. Yeah, including, frankly, me. Where you live. Yes, flood mitigation for you, because if that's all torn down and paved over, then your area will see more incursions of water.
Yep.
Because there are big trees there absorbing a lot of water. And there are old trees there. There's some oaks that are hundreds of years old. And there are birds that nest there, like red-tailed hawks. And bats that nest there in the summertime that have their young there. So that's what I understand about it, like from an ecological standpoint. Yeah, for me, it is a good place to go for a walk in the woods when Gibson Woods isn't open or when I want to bring my dog.
What is your opinion about the overpass project?
I think the mayor is wrong about this one. I think the mayor has gotten a lot right. I appreciate what he's done I live in Hethville, for some of the other parks around here. It's been great. But I think he's neglecting an important natural resource and choosing an option that is not the best thing for the community at large.
Okay.
And also, not to mention won't solve the problem that he allegedly wanted to solve to begin with, which was the kids crossing at Grand, and costs a lot more than other safer alternatives.
Okay, and then my last question was, many people also view the overpass as a way to mitigate train issues as
Mhm.
well.
Right.
Do the train traffic, does that impact you to the point where you think an overpass would be helpful in any way?
I think an underpass might be helpful if the train problem continues. But here's the thing. The trains are regulated by the federal government, and they're not supposed to be using our neighborhood as a rail yard.
Mhm.
They're not supposed to be parking in Hessville to begin with. And after the airing of that, what was it? That, there was national news. It was a PBS show that had Dateline. No, I can't remember what it was.
15 minutes?
No, it was PBS. Anyway, it was aired nationally after the media coverage of these kids falling through
Yeah.
the trains.
Mhm.
Like suddenly, I don't know, did you notice? Because you have to go that way a lot more than I do, but
Yeah.
did you notice there were a lot fewer trains?
Yes.
All of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
like somehow the railroads found a way to run their business that didn't involve using Hessville as a parking lot. And so, yes, that's my husband, Jeff Boles, speaking of the miracle of the train. So the federal government regulates that.
Yeah.
And they can be, like, Hammond is hamstrung when it comes to telling the train companies what to do. Because this is an area where federal regulation supersedes anything that can be done locally. But the fact is, the federal government can make them follow their own rules, and they were capable of doing it. Okay. So if we do need a solution for trains, then an underpass is a superior solution because
Right.
it costs less and does not involve tearing down the woods.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% convinced that we need a physical infrastructure improvement for that. I think what we need is for the rail companies to
Abide by the law.
and not park in.
All right, well, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much.
Here's our interview from Ken Rosek. He's one of the main, orchestrators and, one of the big figureheads in this community. One of the biggest people putting stuff together. And I'd like to point out that the guy in the picture, that's not Ken. His name is TJ, and he's also very helpful and nice. But yeah, picture is TJ, voice is Ken. Two different guys.
Whenever you're ready, can you go ahead and state your name?
Yes, my name is Ken Rosek.
What is your understanding of Briar East Woods? Like, what does that mean to you?
It means it's a little sanctuary in the center of our town that is a natural space for the animals, birds. It's a place that blocks the noise from the expressways that surrounds us. It filters out the pollution that comes from the expressways and some of the other industry. It also protects us from flooding. And it's an ancient geological gem in the center of our town also. It's 4,700 years old. Was when it was formed. There are hundreds of trees out there that are over 100 years old. Thousands of trees out there. And to me, it's a part of the soul of the neighborhood. It's a part of Hessville.
How do you feel about the mayor's plan with Briar East Woods and the overpass project?
I think it's the wrong option. I think we should be going with the Grand Avenue option. I think this is a horrible idea to destroy the most valuable piece of land in the center of town, especially when we have another option available that would actually do better in servicing the neighborhood. The 3 public schools on Grand Avenue.
And then last question, have you yourself ever been stuck by any train traffic that would block you from accessing the schools and this side of Hessville that you think is important enough to need an overpass built?
Not recently. The train stopped parking here about a year and a half ago. That was done by the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. He made a deal with Norfolk and Southern, and we haven't seen parked trains. Now, does a train come down the track and block every now and then? Well, they're moving, and so, I can spare a few minutes here and there. But at any rate, the place, if you're going to have a bridge, it's not where they want to put it right now. It would service everyone better if you put it on Grand Avenue. One of the things that people are overlooking is the fact that they're going to be closing the fastest and quickest route for emergency vehicles by building the bridge, the Governor's Parkway Bridge, by closing Parish Avenue crossing. If you do it on Grand Avenue, build a bridge on Grand Avenue, then you have opened up a second fail-safe crossing, and you keep open the quickest route for the emergency vehicles. So you'll have two routes going across the tracks.
Alright, well, these woods are so important to be saving. The world has become so overpopulated with machinery and construction, whereas nature has become on the less important side, and it's less common to see in cities and in the suburbs. Trees provide human life with oxygen, and the human output of carbon dioxide is turned into fresh oxygen from the trees. Without trees and plants, life would be less authentic and not possible.
And especially in Hammond, I've already stated this, but the area where we live, especially Hessville, is extremely industrialized. There are warehouses and factories, highways everywhere. And Briar East Woods is one of the very, very few quiet, there's no machinery, less car noise.
I can hear the birds right now.
You can hear the birds. And it's very special, to be honest with you, to go out there and not have to be worried about, the cars and the trucks and the machines and the businesses everywhere. It's a very, very special place in Hammond, one of a kind. So its worth isn't just as a plot of land. Its worth is also honestly as a part of the community, to be honest with you. It's very special and important for many people.
It isn't just 300 trees like
Yeah.
he's saying it is.
It's not 300 trees, it's a piece of Hammond.
Along with that, it's home to many different species and animals and plants, like the eastern gray squirrel, Carolina wren, witch hazel is found in here, and the yellow archangel. Without their habitat, they would not be in the area anymore. They would have to move, they would be eaten even. And it's just sad to think about if they lost this forest, they wouldn't have a home anymore. So our research question is, how can public opinion affect the decisions of the government? So I have some examples to show that how it can change. So to start off, according to Pew Research, 67 people voted for change in policy. Specifically, this happened in Minneapolis. So 67% voted for change in policy. And this specifically happened in Minneapolis because of the protest, because of what happened with George Floyd. They cut down their, the police. They cut down a lot of their police in order to get the approval from their citizens in what they believe should be right. Along with that, in 2019, the Yale program, they did a study where 62% of Americans voted to reduce plastic pollution, and this is an example of specifically California, where in many grocery stores and what you're supposed to use plastic straws, or not plastic straws, metal straws and reusable bags. That is a law they have put in place in order to cut down plastic pollution. And then in 2022, Ed Weekly survey showed 51% of parents wanted more control over curriculum content. So this means that parents wanted to pick and choose what books their child was being fed. 51% of parents wanted more control of their curriculum, so some books got added to the banned book list in specific states because of these parents, and so this basically demonstrates how public opinion of people can convey the decisions of the government.
And that's like kind of like the whole point of like the government position, because they were elected to listen to the citizens and implement the policies that the citizens want. So since McDermott is just like telling
Doing
them
something.
and telling them to shut their faces and just constantly just like brush off, ignore. He even ignored us, and it's like, well, you're not really listening to the citizens. And with like the protesters, he's like, oh, they're like minimizing their efforts and just making it all about what he wants and what he wants done with Hammond. And that's not really doing his governmental duties.
Another last point I'd like to bring up, I'll see if I can put a picture up. I don't have it on the slideshow. Mayor McDermott suspiciously had added housing plans to his overpass blueprints. Now, these houses are supposed to be government subsidized houses, which means that they will be offered for cheaper to government employees. Which government employees? Mayor McDermott's. So that overpass isn't just, make cargo faster. That overpass is going to bring in more money for him. And those houses are supposed to be built where Briar East Woods is, cutting down even more trees. Those blueprints were removed at one point and replaced with different ones. So, in theory, those plans could have changed, but my guess is that they're just being hidden. Anyways, so this is a call to action. If you live in Hammond and you are watching this video, please get in contact with the Save Briar East Woods Instagram group and get involved with the trash cleanups they've got going on, the protests they've got going on, canvassing, spreading the word to other people is extremely important. I know for several days they've gone to the courthouse and the city hall and talked to them, holding protests there. Again, cleaning up trash is also a big part of it. And do what you can to save this very, very important piece of history in Hessville.
During the protest.
Oh my goodness.
Shay!
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
We gotta keep
could you
that
hold
in.
this?
He's a mad boy.
Oh my gosh.
You're not getting these. You're mean to people about it.
I think that McDermott sent Chase to sabotage. Oh my god.
I think we have
Are
to
you a
keep that in
spy?
He's something. Go outside, Chase.
He's a spy.
Do you want me to keep going?
May as well.
Oh,
Okay.
you're.
He's
You
coming.
must.
Wait, hold on, guys. I'm picking you up and you're going outside. Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Thank you. Thank you. We don't tolerate this sort of behavior with our friends. Rude.
How can public opinion affect the decisions of the government?